So on today's Mentalism Academy lesson, I'm going to share with you guys a fun variation of the classic cards across routine. Now, I've placed the routine here many years ago, I believe, using a multiple lift. However, this one uses a very well-timed pass. The pass takes place as you're asking the participant to hold their hand out, so there's absolutely no heat on you, and it takes care of pretty much everything. So let's get right into the routine and show you exactly what I'm talking about. All you're going to need is the participant to mix and shuffle the cards and deal 10 cards onto your hand. Now, it doesn't matter what these cards are or where they come from, you're still going to be able to perform the routine from a shuffle deck, even a borrowed one. Now, in the original, I implemented the use of a multiple lift. That way, we could show the participants supposedly these 5 cards and get into the routine this way. However, for this variation, what we're going to do is we're actually going to implement the use of a pass. And the routine goes as follows. We're just going to thumb off the top 5 cards of the pack, and we're going to have the participant think of any one of those cards. They could change their mind as many times as they want. And here, all I'm doing is that while this is taking place, I'm actually getting a pinky break beneath this card in the pile in my left hand. So I could show the participant these cards and have them think of one, and it really doesn't matter which card they think of. That's a little morbid, isn't it? Now, when you take the pile, you're going to square it up on top of the deck as you ask the participant to hold their hand out. And here's where we're going to do a pass. Now, the pass that I like to use here is what I like to call a lift pass. So it's not a normal pass in the sense of changing the cards. We're actually performing an action where the cards end up in a very similar position to where they would end up normally. So the action that we're trying to approximate is as follows. Do me a favor, hold your hand out. Perfect. And there we're placing the cards the participant is thinking of, supposedly one of them, onto their hand. Really, we're sneaking in a pass in that movement. So the action and the move is as follows. We're going to square up the cards. We're going to keep that pinky break. So remember, that pinky break is adding 1 card to this pile. We're then going to extend our right hand as we have the participant supposedly hold their hand out. Now, as that action is taking place and the participant is taking their hand, all we're going to do is perform the actions of a pass. My fingertips are grabbing the lowermost pile, so the 4 cards that are remaining is what my right hand is focusing on. This is taking place as I square up the cards, and now I'm just simply going to perform the mechanics of a classic pass, which means that all the 6 cards that are the participant's potential cards are going to go underneath in my left hand, whereas the 4 cards that the participant hasn't seen are going to go to be placed on their outstretched palm. So the action just looks like this, and we switched both piles. And again, all I'm doing is I'm taking advantage of the mechanics of a pass in order to facilitate the switch. Of course, down below in the description section, I'm going to have linked the classic pass instructional as well as the lift pass. So ultimately, you're going to perform that movement. The participant is going to have their outstretched hand, and we're going to have them hold on to the pile of cards that they think is 5, and also they think contain their thought of card. Really, it's 4 cards, and none of these cards are any cards the participant has seen yet. So they're going to be holding on to those, and I'm holding on to the initial 5 cards, of which one of them the participant is thinking of, and an extra card. At this point, this is an optional step, but I like to get a pinky break above the 2nd card from the face. So now I could simply spread these cards in a bunch of 3 and a bunch of 2 so the participants see that I'm holding on to 5 cards. This pile can now be squared up and handed to a separate participant. And think of the situation that you find yourself in right now. This has 6 cards, the other participant has 4. They think they're thinking of one of the cards in that pile. Really, the card is in this pile. So now we can just simply ask the participant to name their card out loud for the first time. We're going to mime the removal of the card from the pile that they're holding and place it on the other one. You can now have them count out the cards, and of course, they're only going to find 4 cards. This is the first beat. The next beat is going to be when they turn over the cards and they see that their card is missing, because remember, these are the cards that they never saw. The next beat is going to be when the participant counts out 6 cards where they supposedly only had 5. You could then have them turn this pile over, and of course, whatever card they happen to have thought of, you could display as making the journey invisibly from one hand to the other. Now, this variation is a definite improvement on the original. I love this sort of concept where you're using the cards that the participant never saw in order to actually facilitate the method. And of course, you could recognize it as a variation of the princess card trick. However, for this one, it's impromptu, you need no gaffes, and it works each and every single time with borrowed cards. The only move of the entire routine that I consider to be a move is that pass, and it takes place under heavy cover. In this case, having a participant hold out their hand. You're providing a logical reason as to why the cards are coming back to your hand, which is to square them up. And of course, before the participants think anything took place, the entire routine is done. They're holding onto four cards, the other participant is holding onto six cards, and everything works itself at that point. So I think it's a wonderful variation of the original, which involved a little bit of a multiple lift that some people might not like. You're also switching out some cards as well as taking a card, which could be another cumbersome action. This one really solves all that with just one move, which is that lift pass. But anyways, thank you guys for being members of the PigCake Mentalism Academy. And as always, I hope to see you on the next one.